This is BruceGifford, and welcome to my end of the year countdown for the top movies of 2018 so far. Obviously, let's get through the disclaimers. I haven't seen every movie that I want to see from 2018. I have seen a lot, though, over 140 movies, so I got a pretty good list. Now, I do live in a fairly big town with 3 different theaters, but sometimes if it's not a mainstream movie, it just doesn't show up in my hometown, and I have to wait for it to come out on DVD and find the time to seek it out and actually watch it. So, of course, there are some movies that I haven't seen yet, ones that I really want to. Also, this is pretty much just my opinion. What we like in a movie is fairly subjective. And you might see at least one movie that you might feel is more of a 2017 film. Keep in mind that I count the wide release in the US. So if a movie gets a limited release in December of 2017, but a wide release in January of 2018, then it's a 2018 movie in my books. So with those disclaimers out of the way, let's get to the honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the cut. A Star is Born, The Incredibles 2, Upgrade, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but it didn't quite make the cut, at least for the moment. Things could change, but Avengers Infinity War, Hostiles, Tully, Paddington 2, First Man, Hereditary, and A Quiet Place. These didn't quite make the cut, but they're all great movies in my opinion. Alright, with number 10, I'm going to start off with my personal favorite animated film of the year. I do have another animated film higher on this list, but I personally like this one a little better, despite the other one being higher. And that is Isle of Dogs. What can I tell you? It's a very Wes Anderson film, and if you know his style and you've seen his other movies, and you love his movies, you're going to love Isle of Dogs. It is wacky, it's zany, it is awesome, and is quite damn fun. My number 9 I love because it's so damn weird, it's crazy, it is Annihilation. I love just how weird and bizarre it is. There's some very horrific elements in this, really crazy, awesome visuals. It's one of those sci-fi movies I like to go in and dissect it a little bit more every time I watch it. And while I do find Ex Machina was his better film, this is the same director as Ex Machina, I thought Ex Machina was better, but Annihilation is really awesome. My number 8 is a really suspenseful, very gripping thriller that I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and the twists and turns that happened were just damn amazing. My number 8 is Searching. And there's a lot of really good dramatic acting in it as well. It was, as far as thrillers go, this was superb. Also, Move Over Unfriended, this is how you do it. My number 7 is a superhero movie, and it's a sequel, and I like it more than the original. It is Deadpool 2. I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed the humor, I enjoyed the craziness, the bonkers side of this movie. And wink wink, it's a really good family film. Or so he says. Alright, my number 6 is my favorite crime drama. Yeah, I would say it's a crime drama. I don't think there's anything else on the list that would be considered crime drama. My number 6 is BlacKkKlansman. I thought it was directed well, I thought the acting was great on everyone's part. It was based off of a true story, but there is some very stranger than fiction sort of elements in this movie that is just I can't believe this actually happened. Alright, my number 5 is the animated film I have highest on the list. Now, this is my second favorite animated film of the year. I do like Isle of Dogs better, but I can't deny the technical aspects in this film are just superb. It's actually Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I love the different alternate realities of Spider-Man all melded into this movie. I liked how they took the Spider-Man story I'm guessing this is very much Miles' story in the comic books, but I loved how they took elements of Spider-Man and reworked it in a different way that feels fresh. It has all the same cliches of a Spider-Man origin story, but it's done in just a really nice, creative fashion that I enjoyed and didn't feel boring watching. Plus, I love the animation style in this movie, especially when certain Spider-Man or alternate Spider-Men have a completely different animated style than some of the rest. An animation style that particularly fits their specific Spider-Man. Alright, my number 4, most of you will say this doesn't belong on a 2018 list because it's a 2017 movie, but I like to refer to you to my disclaimers. I consider the US wide release, and this had a US wide release in January 2018. My number 4 is Molly's Game. Now, I have rewatched this recently, and I don't like it as much as I did before, but I still think it's a great, really fun, very crazy film. I love the narration and the snappy editing. I like the dialogue. I love the story. It is a little hectic, but at the same time, if you see it as a character piece, as a character study piece, this works really damn well. If you're not into that kind of stuff, you might find it a little too hectic. Okay, out of my top 10, number 3 is probably the oddball of the group because this one got the most mixed reviews out of all the other 10. But my number 3 is Bad Times at the El Royale. I love this film. I enjoyed every second of this film. I loved the editing style. I liked how we followed all the different characters. I liked how the twists and turns happened and how the story leads you into what happens. The movie really limits you to what certain characters see, certain characters' perspectives, and so the twists and turns come as you start to realize what other characters' intentions are once you actually get them as a main character. It does have a lot of rewinding in the movie because it goes back and forth between different times. It's like, okay, the character leads up to this point, well now here's what this other character did before that, you know, and it does a lot of that, and I can see how that could be confusing and how that could really be bad for some people. I think it's a really cool story, and the acting was superb as well. Alright, my number 2 is probably the movie that I consider the best movie, or the critically best movie that I've seen this year. And the only reason it's number 2 is because I enjoyed number 1 a little bit more. My number 2 is First Reformed. I love a lot of A24 films, especially the A24 films that we actually get in theaters. Some of the limited releases and some of the straight-to-DVD releases of A24 films could be pretty dicey and not as good. But when they actually release them in a wider theater, most of them are very solid. I love Ethan Hawke in this movie. I thought everyone did a really great job, but Ethan Hawke is this priest that's slowly losing his mind, and it's directed by the person who wrote films such as Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. It isn't his first film that he's directed, but it's got to be better than the joke that was Dog Eat Dog. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard horror stories about that. But this has got to be one of the best movies of the year, for sure. Alright, my number 1 was one that I fairly recently reviewed. I can't remember. Yeah, I think I saw it in November, but I reviewed it in December at some point. I think. But my number 1 is Creed 2. I thought it was amazing. And I do love the first one, and I probably love the first one even more. But the second Creed, it has all the things I loved about the first one, minus the creative shots and creative editing during the fights. That's the little thing in Creed 2 that's not as good as the first Creed. But it has all the rest of it. The superb acting, the really developed characters, to the point that even the antagonists in this movie have more of a developed character than the antagonist in Creed. And when you take a movie that's very much a movie of its time, Rocky IV, where it's all about communism versus capitalism, it's about America versus Russia, and it's very 80s and just like badass. To take that, put consequences from those actions, and make an actually deep, dramatic story that's also a boxing drama. Creed 2 is my personally favorite movie of the year so far. But then again, there are plenty of other movies I have yet to see. So, have you seen any of these 10 films? What do you think about them? Go ahead and comment below. And by the way, what is your top 10 movies of the year of 2018? Go ahead, leave a comment, put out your list. I'm interested. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.